ADBN, Advocate Broadcasting Network.
Glad to have you join us on today's edition of the Market Report on ADBN Television. My name is Adefolani Olamlikon. You can see the excitement on my voice, particularly as we await the CBN decision to make input on the latest interest rate. But here we are, analysts, economic analysts are making their own prediction. For Professor Uche Waleke, we had a conversation with him on the outlook for the MPC CBN decision for today. Let's have a view of what Prof is talking about, because Prof is one of those well-known Nigerian economists who understand the dynamics around CBN and its monetary policy. So let's have a view of what Prof is talking about the MPC decision for today.
I actually expect the central bank to begin to see how they can lower the current high monetary policy rates at 27%. And that's because the reason why the rate has been held high, we are beginning to see a moderation in inflation rates. Okay. Yeah, inflation rates moderated to 15% in December, or even in January. So we're also beginning to see some exchange rate stability, macroeconomic stability generally, because that's usually why the central bank, hikes rates. But now that we are beginning to see some form of economic stability, we are beginning to see even increase in foreign reserves that will put the central bank in a position to intervene in the forex market. So with all these conditions, I think it is time the central bank began to look at the issue of lowering the monetary policy rates, starting an accommodative monetary policy, so to speak. Because right now interest rates are very high, and I think given the recent macroeconomic stability we have experienced, it's important that rates begin to climb down. Yeah. Over time, of course, all this while the tight monetary policy, I would say, has been a lot successful. It's partly because of that we are having this low inflation. Yes, a relatively lower inflation rate. It's also partly because of that we're also having lower liquidity in the system, and by extension, stable exchange rates, because we don't see much naira now chasing too few dollars. So I would say it's been to a large extent successful. So now that we have achieved our aim, so to speak, I think it is time to begin to lower rates. Yes, the bullish nature of the stock market is not unconnected with the macro stability that I referred to earlier. Yes, that is what is actually driving it. More confidence in the markets. Investors, of course, are coming in because of confidence in the economy. So we are seeing more foreign investors. Local investors also are showing confidence in the way they are purchasing stocks. If there is no confidence, of course, investors will not be buying. So the relative macroeconomic stability is what is driving it. Yes, you see the market cap now, equities market cap now crossing 120 trillion. We've also seen a very huge resurgence in the all-share index. So all this point to the fact that investor sentiment is strong, and it is strong because of the macroeconomy. You cannot delink the macroeconomy from the performance of the market. So the market is looking at the state of the economy, and the market is responding along those lines. So it's about it's confidence. Confidence is returning to the economy. Investors are also reacting. Of course, you know that a number of banks have met over 20 banks have met the recapitalization requirements. So the financial system is very stable. There's no doubt about that. And if at the end of the day you have very few that are unable to meet up, of course, the options are there, for them to merge. A major option is there. And of course, reclassification is also there. Those who are unable to meet international license can come down to regional license. But from the information we have, virtually all the banks in that class, have met that requirement. So the issue of reclassification. So what's important is that no bank will be left to go under. So investors' money safe, customers' money safe. So no bank is going to be allowed to go under. I've always said that the government, the Securities and Exchange Commission can, while the time frame is okay, but I would think it should be extended to December. Extended to December because 2027 is election year. So it would be nice for the Securities and Exchange Commission to extend that one to December of 2027. Of course, yes, I think it's possible. Yes, it looks ambitious, but it's possible. We have the population. Yes, this is a country of over 200 million people, youthful population. So it is very possible. It's about, again, continuing to build this confidence in the market. It's also about, having very strong, regulations that protecting investors. And it's about also increasing the awareness, the level of awareness about capital market products, in Nigeria, and that will also mean, helping to sustain and possibly also scale the capital markets education and awareness in our tertiary, institutions. Leveraging technology, as I said, that's possible to have as many as that number of investors. So retail investor base needs to increase for a country with our type of population. So technology will play a very major role, and that's why partnership with fintech companies, will also go a long way.
All right, that's Professor Uche Waleke, often to be a financial economist and capital market expert, giving us a bit of what we should expect by 2 p.m. today. 2 p.m. today, CBN will be releasing their communique on what will be the next line of action when it comes to interest rate in Nigeria. Currently, the interest rate is around 27%, and bank recapitalization exercise is still ongoing in Nigeria. But by 2 p.m., we're going to be hearing more from Dr. Yemi Cardoso on the interest rate and on that benchmark for the Nigerian economy. For Professor Uche Waleke, he's expecting a lower interest rate. Let's now go to our discussion segment, talking about what will be happening today in terms of our discussion. But before we bring our guests on, we need to quickly go to the market and bring us up to speed on the Nigerian stock market and all that's happened on the market floor today. So let's have the Nigerian stock market talking about a bullish outing in the Nigerian stock market with over 132 listed companies participating, 33 gainers and 34 losers, with over 196.28368 at a plus 1,293.91 basic point. That suggests we are now at 126 trillion naira market capitalization. 126 trillion naira market capitalization. Market value at 31.485 trillion naira. 57% improvement in the volume, 11% improvement in turnover, 50% improvement in this all-to-date market benchmark is great outing. 57% improvement, 11% improvement in turnover, 57% improvement in volume, and 50% improvement in this, which suggests it is all green. No red is accommodated on Nigerian stock market today. A 1 week gain of 3.16%, a 4 week gain of 18.59%, and year-to-date gains of 26.14%. Talking about the top volume, we have Japan Gold Venture with 470 million naira shares, Champs with 51.5 million naira shares, and Jais Bank with 48.3 million naira shares. But let's take a view of the top gainers table and see the companies that are there. We have Okumo Oil at 1,605.60 kobo per unit of their shares at a plus 10. Fortis General Insurance at 0.66 at a plus 10. Fifthing with 95.50 at a plus 10. And Nigerian Police Force Microfinance Bank at 6 naira 89 kobo at a plus 9.89. So the top gainers, Okumo Oil, FTN General Insurance, Fifthing, and Nigerian Police Microfinance Bank. But let's really take a look at the top loser side of the table and see the companies that are there. Top loser side of the table. We have Dini Sheet at 17 naira 55 kobo at a minus 10. Deep Capital at 6 naira 86 kobo at a minus 9.67. Multiverse at 22 naira 70 kobo at a minus 9.92, and Living Trust at 5 naira 90 kobo at a minus 9.92. These are the stand when it comes to the top loser side: Initiative, Deep Capital, Multiverse, and Living Trust. With this, let's go global and see the global oil price. It will also be our talking point later on the show. WTI is back, $66.47 at a plus 0.24. Brent at $71.53 at a plus 0.06. Bonnie Light at $73.98 at a plus 3.96. And OPEC basket at $70.11 at a plus 0.4. So the oil bracket price, they are all on the green side, from WTI to Brent to Bonnie Light and to OPEC basket. I'm so excited about Bonnie Light, $73.98. This suggests the federal government of Nigeria is having extra $9 for our exit crude oil account. From $64 that we have budgeted for our budget 2026, extra $9 is coming to Nigerian account. But let's check out the other page of energy commodity and see the price of the other product. Talking about natural gas. Natural gas at the minus 0.13. Coal has recovered at the $116.50 at the plus 0.11. Ethanol is back. Ethanol is back at the $1,750 per gallon at a plus 1.45. Gasoline is also recovering with a plus 0.11 at $1,991 per gallon. But let's check out precious industrial metal and see the product price going forward. Talking about gold, silver, copper, and steel. For gold, it's a good outing today at a plus 1.09, silver at a plus 0.31, copper at a plus 1.44, and steel at a minus 0.88. So, for the product, except for steel, the other products are good to go when it comes to their price mechanism. From gold at a plus 109, silver at a plus 031, for steel at a minus 088. But let's check out the other page of precious and industrial materials. Talking about, iron ore, palladium, platinum, and lithium. Lithium is growing, and the price is showing great mechanism at a plus 5.74 at $1,520 per metric ton. Meanwhile, for platinum, $2,167 per metric ton. And I said something yesterday on the show. I said sometimes platinum and palladium, their price may not go at the same time. And today we are seeing that happening to palladium, falling on the way side at a minus 0.06 at $1,776 per metric ton. Meanwhile, for iron ore, it is $746 per metric ton at a minus 2.10. So these are the stand when it comes to precious and industrial material. But let's check out Nigerian FX. Talking about Naira to other foreign currency. Today, Naira is making a bit of struggling, I would say, because over the last 1 week, we have seen that Naira is struggling with dollar. But today, it shows 1,346 to the dollar with a minus 3. That means talking about losing 3 Naira against the dollar today. Against British pounds also, Naira also lost 6 Naira at 1,821. And against Euro also, Naira also lost 7 Naira against Euro at 1,591. Meanwhile, against the Canadian dollar, Naira was able to make, a recovery against the Canadian dollar, and it made 3 Naira gain, 3 Naira 50 kobo gain at 979 Naira today. But let's check out the other foreign currency. Talking about the yen of Japan, the Riyal of Saudi Arabia, the yuan of China, and the rand of South Africa. For the yen of Japan, it is 8 Naira 72 kobo to the Naira, 359 Naira to the Riyal of Saudi Arabia, 195 Naira to yuan of China, and 84 Naira 33 kobo against the rand of South Africa. So these are how Naira stand against all these foreign currency. But I would say, on the average, Naira has been able to maintain that stability that is expected. Also, on the communique that the central bank governor will be giving today, we'll be shedding light on how far Naira has been able to stand against all these foreign currency. Although in the news just last week, CBN was able to mop up over $190 million in the market. What means is that because of too much dollar in Nigerian economy per se, CBN was able to mop up over $190 million last week on the open market operation of the Central Bank of Nigeria. But we'll be hearing more of that details from the Central Bank of Governor today by 2 p.m. And I can tell you that ADBN will bring you up to speed on what the CBN governor and his MPC group will say, talking about the interest rate. Whether they are going for a cut, or they are going for a retainership, or they are going for a middle range. But for Prof. Waleke, who will just show his own projection, he said he believes the CBN will be going for a cut. So we all expect that, because all the parameters that will show that CBN need to go for a cut is there. The inflation is dropping from 15.15 to 15.10. Food inflation has also dropped to about 8.89 in the month of January. So what else will CBN say? They are holding on to keep having a very high interest rate. All those parameters are on the card, but they are facing down on the card, meaning they are on the floor. They are down. So what will CBN hold on to by saying we are eyeing interest rate? So with that, let's quickly go to our guest for today, talking about the Nigerian oil and gas sector. But we are starting from the global energy perspective. So joining me right now is Olatide Jeremiah, who happens to be the CEO of petroleumprice.ng. We'll be helping us to explore the issue around nuclear talk. Many of us have had nuclear talk whereby the US is putting pressure on Iran to slow down its nuclear production. But there is an interlink, an interweaving, an intertwin between nuclear talk and the oil global price. Talking about the price of crude oil around the world, this particular nuclear talk is also affecting global oil price. We can see just recently, as I showed us the price of crude oil, the price is going up. And many analysts are saying because of that pressure on Iran, it is affecting global oil price and production. So Olatide Jeremiah will be joining me shortly so that we can have a robust discussion around it. Meanwhile, there is a new arrangement by Central Bank of Nigeria, by Dangote and NNPC. Pardon me, Central Bank is almost taking the day off me. Talking about the new partnership between NNPC and Dangote. We'll be explaining all those going forward. So let's join Olatide Jeremiah. Mr. Olatide, nice to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right.
It's my pleasure to be here once again.
All right. So let's get started from the global perspective. What do you make of the new nuclear talk that has now have a chance of impacting global oil price and production? Talking about the U.S. pressure on Iran and its oil production.
Okay, thank you so much once again. And I want Nigerians to understand that international conflicts, international demand and supply would always have direct impacts on our local prices. We've had geopolitical crises between Russia and Ukraine. We've had geopolitical crisis between US and Iran. And it has steered up prices, oil prices, particularly Brent crude, from $67 per barrel to $72 per barrel. That is the highest in 6 months. And if there is any strike from the US to the Iran, it might hit $80 per barrel. And it's going to have a direct impact on our local prices here, because we have a refinery in Nigeria, a refinery that still gets 60% of its crude from overseas. And the international price determines the prices it gets its crude. So there is a direct connection between what's happening in the international oil market that to our local oil market here. So hopefully, I just hope that talks between the US and the Iran takes place, because early this morning I read that there's a window of talks between the Iran and the US. And if that is achieved, I'm sure that prices will drop, and the fear of price surging in our local market here will be put to rest.
Interesting. But on the other hand, let's also take an exploration of this particular impact. You know, Iran is a strong member of OPEC, and majority of OPEC members, although they may not be comfortable because Venezuela, who is a member of OPEC, have been impacted by U.S. global policy on their country. Now Iran is there also. But what do you make of the reaction of most of the OPEC members, including Nigeria, when it comes to oil production and the price of it on the global market?
Okay, I couldn't hear you well. So if I could hear you well, you're talking about the oil production lately by the OPEC or OPEC Plus?
Yes.
Okay, yes, definitely. The several factors determines oil prices, and geopolitical crisis or conflict is a major factor. Demand and supply is another major factor. The tariffs imposed is another major factor. Sanction imposed is another major factor. But now let's talk about the demand and supply. OPEC has had meetings to review their supply and to make sure that their supply is streamlined. And that also is adding up to the reason why prices are still climbing recently. So hopefully, I just hope that as time goes on or as time goes by, supply, because supply will be enabled, supply will be increased. And if supply is increased into the oil market, there will be stability. Because it's all about supply meeting demand, and demand is growing all over the world, with China demanding for crude and other world countries demanding for crude. So as soon as supply is being stepped up and it meets the current demand globally, there will be a stabilized or a downward trend in international oil prices, and definitely is definitely going to affect the Nigerian market, oil market positively, because by and large, we have a refinery that is working, but we still depend, unfortunately, we still depend on the outlook, on the international outlook, oil outlook, because our refineries still don't get the right stock or enough stock from Nigeria, despite the fact that we are the biggest producer of oil, of crude oil in Africa. So it's a pity, but hopefully, I just hope that the supply angle in the Nigerian area will be worked on, and supply will increase. And if it increases, there will be stability.
Interesting. Now, talking about the refineries that are not working optimally, and the shock we normally have around the uncertainty of crude oil production for even local refinery. But recently, NNPC and Dangote are collaborating to expand refining capacity. When that news came up earlier, over the weekend before yesterday, Monday, a lot of reaction followed. Experts like you make your own reaction. Economists were also talking about it. But what do you make of the news that Dangote and NNPC are partnering together to expand refining capacity? Share your thought on this for us.
Okay, for me, you know, in a country like Nigeria, the NNPCL is saddled with the responsibility of supply. Yes, constitutionally, the NNPCL, which is also known as the National Oil Company, has the responsibility to make sure that the supply of petroleum product, refined product, is intact. And since the NNPCL has told Nigeria through the 4 refineries that have been in comatose for over a few years now, Dangote has stepped in to rescue the NNPC by providing supply of petroleum products. I heard recently when the GCEO of NNPCL said, "Thank God for Dangote refinery." It means that if not for the Dangote refinery helping with supply, we will still be buying PMS above 1,200 per liter at the pump, because the importers would take advantage of every situation, just like the surge in international crude oil price that we're experiencing. If it was left to the importers and the NNPCL, would be having prices rise as high as 1.5 because they would quickly react to the international crude oil price, claiming replacement cost. But now that we have a patriotic Nigeria in person of Aliko Dangote, and also we also have one of the biggest refineries in the world on board that has helped to provide supply. Recently, the CEO of Dangote Refinery, David Beck, said Dangote has its full capacity. That is a 650,000 barrels per day. So it means that Dangote Refinery could refine above 100 million liters daily. So with that, NNPCL will need to partner. Though, ever since the Dangote Refinery started, NNPCL has supported, according to Dangote, has supported by getting share of 7.25% of the share in Dangote Refinery. That is a good support. So going forward, I know that the collaboration is inevitable because currently the person that holds the supply of Nigeria and in extension West Africa is the Dangote Refinery. So the best that will come out is a collaboration because, quite frankly, the top 10 biggest and most efficient refineries in the world, 7 of them are manned, built, and managed by private individuals. Government really do not have businesses building or managing refineries. Refineries or businesses all over the world, in advanced world, are managed by individuals. So the best they could do is partnership. It could be in fundraising, it could be in supply of crude. But I'm very sure that details of the partnership would would cover support in terms of funds, most likely crude, because Dangote still gets very minimal crude from NNPCL. So with those collaborations, I hope they will get enough crude from them, and there will be stability in the downstream sector in Nigeria.
All right, interesting. Now, let's also take another very interesting aspect of what Dangote and NNPC is collaborating. You know, for now, many Nigerians know one of the biggest collaboration they have is the aspect of NNPC supplying the crude for Dangote. But right now, we're understanding that NNPC and Dangote are going beyond just crude supply. They're also going to collaboration in the aspect of refining. But if one will ask, how good is this collaboration? How will it impact the Nigerian refining sector in the oil and gas sector? Particularly, someone may also want to ask, is it that this refining capacity will go to NNPC or handing over those refineries to Dangote, or Dangote taking over those refineries? What do you make of this expanding partnership they're engaging on?
Okay, for me, I don't think Dangote has any business with the NNPCL refineries. The last NNPCL refineries was commissioned in the 1980s, and that is 40-something years ago. It means those equipments are dilapidated. They are outdated, and I doubt if Dangote would want to collaborate with the refineries. What the NNPCL is supposed to do, for me, the Pengastin has pushed for the federal government selling 51% stakes in the NNPCL, which I strongly support. But NNPCL is saying that no, we will not sell our stake. We will get partners. We will get foreign partners that would come in and will partner together. But for me, it is just as if we will just keep running on the spots. We've had foreign partners in terms of operation, in terms of rehabilitation of those refineries, and it did not work. We lost billions in such endeavors. So I would say that we have experts, we have technocrats, we have guys that are rooted in the downstream sector, they should be given a reasonable stake in NNPC and they will manage it. So for me, I don't see a collaboration between Dangote refinery and the NNPC relating to the refineries. No. What they could be talking about is enhancing supply between NNPCL to Dangote. That's the crude oil. That's the raw material to Dangote. Why Dangote give them finished a crude swap that used to happen in the past? A crude swap between NNPCL and the Dangote refinery. Okay, I give you this barrel of crude, and you give me back in place of refined product. I think that is the collaboration they should be looking at, than saying that Dangote needs to collaborate with the refinery. That will not work. For me, the refinery should be privatized. The private, I said it earlier, that top refineries in the world are being managed by private individuals. So as soon as governments think or look into that direction and privatize 50% or 12% of the refinery, there will be stability in the downstream sector in Nigeria.
Interesting. Now, let's also take a look at the new model of petrol distribution in Nigeria, according to Dangote. The news came out that Dangote has developed a new model whereby it will be able to distribute its PMS to depot owners and major marketers. Olatide, you are in that sector. How did they come to this agreement? And how comfortable are all the partners in this agreement? The major marketers, the depot owners. We all know that depot owners at a point in time were also importers. But right now, there is a deal between them and Dangote Refinery. What do you make of this deal? Take us through on this issue.
Okay, this is my area of specialization, so I'm going to give you the insight of what has happened. The first quarter of this year, the NMDPRA has not issued petrol import license to any major importer. The reason is that they want to encourage the Dangote refinery. They want the importers and the depot owners to patronize Dangote refinery. Because we can see that our dollar, our naira is getting better. We are having a stronger naira per day. It is because of the reduced pressure on naira to dollar, and it is petrol. And now they have come out to say, oh, I think I can supply 75 million liters of petrol to Nigerians on a daily basis. So the NMDPRA is the intermediary between Dangote and the depot owner. They're saying, oh, we are not going to give you guys the import license as we used to do before. We want you people to come into a round table with Dangote refinery. So both parties should work out terms where there will be structure. You know, before now, there was this structure, there was this pattern that Dangote sells directly to the station owner, jumping the wholesalers, that's the depot owners. So the structure now is that producer, wholesaler, retailer. So as IPMAN, which they are bodies for the retailers, the retail outlet owners of Nigeria, they need to buy from the depot owners. Why the depot owners will buy from Dangote? Dangote has approved 14 depot owners or 14 major marketers that have storage tanks that you are going to lift 75% of any product you buy through the coaster, that's through ship, and you lift 25% from our gantry. So that means that there will be structure. The depot owners are now brought into the scheme. So no need for importation. So importation will be reduced to 10-20% because depot owners will now buy from Dangote and they will now be in control of the price. Unlike before, that Dangote comes out to announce that my ex-depot price is this. You will not hear that news again. Because the ex-depot price, the price between Dangote will be between Dangote and the marketers. While the marketers will come up with their price, with their own price, and the retailers buy from them. Coiners as people to you, the prices has moved to 800 naira. You will not hear that in the news because it is an arrangement between Dangote and the depot guys. So the depot guys are still buying at the old rates, 774, but they are selling at 800 across all depot in Lagos. And in Warri, they are selling 820. In Port Harcourt, they are selling 820. In Calabar, they are selling 815. So the prices have moved up. So there's an alignment that Dangote to the major marketers down to the retailers. So the retailers would not buy directly from Dangote again. So it's going to be a win-win situation. The depot owners would not need to import. They would need to rely on Dangote, and with that, would have a stable naira. Exactly. Because over time, if importation drastically drops, our naira will get better. Because the pressure would not be on naira again. It would be a direct contact between Dangote refinery and the depot owner. So that's all the simple arrangement between them.
Exactly.
And I think for me, as an expert, I think this should be the best methodology that they are supposed to have adopted a long time ago. Because if they had adopted this earlier, over a year ago when I just started, we wouldn't be having this price war. So Dangote would give the depot owners products, depot owners supply the retailers. Why the NMDPRA will now be a regulator to make sure that they regulate prices and regulate supply. And with that, there will be a stability in the downstream petroleum markets. Exactly.
Olatide, these are quite a very insightful analysis you are giving, particularly that from an insider like you understand the dynamics of what they have discussed and what they have agreed on. But for ordinary Nigerians, will this benefit Nigerians on the long term, or is it just a short gap measures that will benefit Nigeria? Because someone wants to ask, with this new arrangement now, won't it also cause a lot of problem going forward where there could be sharp practices on the part of the depot owners and the major marketers?
So, okay, now, if I can hear you well, are you saying that will this arrangement benefit Nigerians more?
Yes, that's the summary of the question.
The depot owners?
Both sides.
Okay, for me, if this arrangement is not regulated, Nigerians might have to suffer in terms of high price at the pump. Because I'm calling on the NMDPRA to make sure that this marriage between Dangote and the depot owners slash the importers is being regulated so that prices does not go up. So for Nigerians, prices might rise a bit, but I'm hoping that Dangote refinery, that is a patriotic Nigerian, will make sure that the depot owners does not sell beyond a particular limit. And with that, it will create stability and reasonable or average prices for the Nigerians. Over and large, I don't see prices going up if the NMDPRA step in to make sure that prices are coordinated, no gang up, no hoarding of products. As soon as products are being supplied from by the Dangote refinery to the depot owners, it is released to the independent station owners. And when that flow is there, prices will be competitive and Nigerians will be happy at the end of the day.
All right. Thank you so much, Olatide Jeremiah, for coming on the show today, particularly making an ABC explanation of all this agreement between Dangote, oil depot owners, and major marketers. Because when we read the report, a lot of Nigerians may not understand the dynamics around it, the technicality of words being used to initiate the agreement. But for someone like you in the sector, you have made it so simple for us to understand that it is now a tripartite way of supply from refinery to holding, to storage, then to supply, which is quite interesting and going forward in the Nigerian oil sector. Thank you so much, Olatide Jeremiah.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, thank you for
Thank
a
you.
great outing. Now, talking about oil and gas sector, we are moving to another very different discussion segment right now. Corruption, corruption, corruption. Dr. Adoyin will be joining me, who is a public affairs analyst, will be joining me shortly through the virtual experience also, so that we can have a discussion around this particular issue. You must have read a catalog of news reports on corruption cases in Nigeria, particularly since the beginning of this year. A lot of cases are in court regarding to corrupt practices. And someone wants to ask, what does that have to do with the market report? Yes, because most corrupt issues, stolen funds, launder money, or misappropriated money, are for economic development purpose. So when such money are taken away from the coffer of the federal government, the state government or local government, or in between private businesses, when money are stolen or there's fraud, it affects the Nigerian economy. So we're taking a dive into that particular issue and how we can curb financial illicit in Nigeria, corruption in Nigeria, and to instill that inclusive financial growth in the Nigerian economy. But let's go for this break before Dr. Adoyin joins us.
For your news on the go, ADBN is everywhere you are. Stay connected with us across all our social media and streaming platforms for exclusive news updates, captivating stories, and more. Join the ADBN community today via our various platforms. Anavo TV app, ADBN Channel 121, Niger TV app, ADBN TV, Linuxwell TV app. To get the latest news straight to your phone, join our WhatsApp TV channel. Just search for ADBN TV and hit the follow button. Turn on your notification to stay updated and never miss any part of the experience. Stay in the conversation with us across social media handles. On X at ADBN TV, Instagram at ADBN TV, Facebook ADBN TV, YouTube ADBN TV. Keep visiting our website on www.adbntv.com. Watch us live anytime, anywhere. ADBN TV, a part of you.
All right, talking about corruption in Nigeria, so assess corrupt practices that affected Nigerian economic development. Meanwhile, these corrupt practices either comes from the public sector or the private sector. And arguments are bound that majority of these corrupt practices have drivers. That means there are things that drive corruption in Nigeria. So what are the way out of some of these issues? Meanwhile, we have two major institutions to fight corruption in Nigeria: EFCC, that's the Economic Crime Commission, and ICPC, also working to fight corruption. But how far have these institutions, what are their track record when it comes to tackling corruption in Nigeria? Meanwhile, it has been suggested that we need to leverage technology to fight corruption. So we are exploring the aspect of technology that can help us to reduce corruption. But guess what? There is role for citizens to eliminate corrupt practices in our society. So what will the citizen be doing when it comes to corrupt activities? As I said earlier in the intro, there are arrays of corrupt practices, corrupt engagement, either on the public institution side, on the private institution side, even at the family level. But here we are. These corrupt issues have affected Nigerian economy. As 2026 unfolds, Nigerian judiciary are faced with a pivotal year that will test the country anti-corruption drive. Cases involve senior politicians, bank and state agencies are in their dozens. And beyond politics and policy pronouncement, this is unresolved question of accountability, constitutional order, economic justice, and development that we need to interrogate with far-reaching implications, from high to lower profile corruption cases involving former governors, former permanent secretary, former directors, former DG, former this, that, and that, former bank directors, and the rest of them are all available in Nigeria. For instance, the Transparency Initiative said there are over 1,000 different court cases of corruption in Nigeria, from money laundering to what you can talk about. First, we have the likes of Abubakar Malami that have been found wanting of 8.7 billion naira money laundering against him. We also have alleged $4.5 billion fraud against former CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele. Meanwhile, there's also another money laundering and misappropriation of 80.2 billion against Yaya Bello, former governor of Kogi State. On the power sector, who's supposed to be addressed, the former minister have been embezzled and been alleged to have stolen 33.8 billion, money intended for Mabila and Zungeru hydropower project here in Nigeria. The minister's name is Saleh Mamman. They also have, anti-gift issues between former ministers Chris Ngige, talking about taking over 2.2 billion as gift in the Nigerian economy. So these are all the various anti-corruption issues that we need to address. So joining me is Dr. Adoyin Omali, who will be helping us to explain this particular issue and how it affects the Nigerian economy. So we await Dr. Adoyin to join us shortly. But on the other hand, there are issues of corruption, and how are we going to settle some of these issues going forward is a big challenge to the Nigerian economy. So how impactful is corruption on Nigerian development? What needs to be done to reduce the impact of corruption in Nigeria? And what are we going to do in the aspect of individuals who put their hand in public fund? Many have suggested capital punishment. Some have suggested life imprisonment. But what do we think we need to do? So Dr. Adoyin will be joining me shortly so that we can exploit the ways out on corruption in Nigeria. Doc, a good day to have you on the show, sir.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
All right. So let's get set. Your own assessment of corruption in Nigeria. Let's have your take on that, sir.
Well, corruption has been a very, very endemic issue that has been one of the major problems that Nigeria has been confronting since independence in 1960. The issue of corruption has continued to be in the front burner of national discourse. Virtually every government continues to mount its fight against the menace of corruption. But little has been achieved over the years in terms of having solution to the problem of corruption. It has always been the desire of Nigerians that corruption should be stamped out of our system, but little have been achieved in that regard. In the corruption perception index, we have continued to slide down and down and down, and it is very, very unfortunate. Nigeria is supposed to be a very great country. It's supposed to be one of the greatest countries on the planet Earth, but the issue of corruption has continued to take us backward. That is why the issue is very, very serious, that we have to, all hands have to be on deck to ensure that for us to have development, we need to tackle this menace of corruption head on. Many regimes, many governments have come out to bring different policies, set up institutions to try to address the issue of corruption, but still corruption persists. And everybody is now looking and say, who will bear the cat with corruption taking different dimensions. You have mentioned in the prologue, you roll out the list of several persons that are being tried for corrupt practices now. Even in the past, some were given slap on the wrist by being given light sentences. Others are decamping from one political party to another so that their sins can be forgiven. And others are making restitution, turning out, giving back to government some of the sums that they have embezzled. The EFCC and ICPC too are also tracking and tracing some of these funds. Foreign governments are also not left out. They have been able to seize some of these funds and repatriate some back to the country, which have also again been relooted. So all these are some of the things that we have witnessed over the years in this country, which is quite unfortunate. A lot of people look at corruption only from the prism of those in government. Many people underplay private sector corruption. Many people underplay other forms of corruption in our national lives. Even shunting of queues, falsifying records, tampering with official records, forgery, and so on. All these are types of corruption that are very endemic in this country. Even as little as giving bribe to be able to get services. All these are also parts of corruption, because most times people face corruption only from the perspective of people taking government funds or government people executing shoddy contracts so that they can make a lot of profit. So all these are some of the issues of corruption that we face in this country.
Exactly. Doc, having said, for most of us, we have been able to say, okay, this is how corruption are carried out in Nigeria. But one question that is still a bit difficult to answer is the drivers of these corrupt practices. What is really driving corruption in Nigeria? Because if you take a look at public servant or elected individual, either former governor or governors in position, they are well taken care of. They are paid good remuneration. They are well taken care of by the government. They are well taken care of by the state. But at the end of the day, we still find them being accused of misappropriation of funds, money laundering, and the rest of them. And the question is, what really drives this kind of corruption within our system? Can you help us on unravel that?
Yes, there are several factors. It's not just one. There are many factors that are responsible for this corruption. Some of the factors I will mention. One of that is, like you said, poor remuneration. We have one of the poorest remuneration you can find anywhere in the world. A situation whereby a permanent secretary or a director in the federal civil service earn very meager salary, or a lecturer, a professor in the university earn very meager salary. Several government functionaries, in terms of pay package, it's really not encouraging. We are still struggling with 30,000 minimum wage. So somebody, what can somebody, or 80,000 minimum wage for, 80,000, what can somebody do with that in the Nigeria of today? It cannot even fill the tank of a car. So the cost of living is astronomically high. Most persons outside being engaging in other practices cannot survive, even those in position of authority, whether in the National Assembly, in the Senate, or otherwise. The pay package is actually abysmally low, and something has to be done about that, because one of the things to tackle corruption is if people are well paid and the society is well arranged, corruption could be tackled. Secondly, apart from the issue of remuneration, there's also the issue of greed. Our societal value aid and abet corruption. A situation whereby people are given a political appointment, or people are given appointment or employment. Everybody expects that by such appointment or employment, you are going to corruptly enrich yourself, go to your village and begin to dole out money, and begin to, there will be all kinds of requests to you if you are an elected official and so on. So they do not ask how or where you are going to get the resources to oil whatever request that they are putting. They don't care, but the way they see it is that you are their son and you have to attend to their needs, irrespective of whether you have the capacity or not. So the societal pressure is also part of the issue. Another very critical issue that is very, very important in precipitating or encouraging corrupt practices is our penchant to see government funds as public, as to see public funds as private funds. People do not think that they need to be accountable. There is no accountability, And because there's no accountability, mechanisms are put in place to ensure that the process of checks and balances, the process of checking those in leadership position to ensure that they do not unnecessarily dip their hand into the till is really very porous. So there are no mechanisms that is supposed to deter. And that is where you hear things like padding in the National Assembly. You hear things like consistency projects, is my consistency projects. You hear things like, so many lexicon within the Nigerian parlance, things like sorting and all kinds of words that are being used within. So our system is such that there are so many issues that are happening that is aiding and abetting this corruption.
Right.
So,
Doc, I really want to appreciate you. Due to time, we need to let you go right now. But it's a developing issue based on all the areas of corrupt individuals that are now in court to face EFCC, to face ICPC. But we need to get back to you so that we can explore all the professional advices that you have for us on the discussion. But thank you so much for coming on the show today, sir. I've been speaking with Dr. Adoyin Matthew Omali, who happens to be a public affairs analyst and a political economist in that matter that understands the essence of tackling corruption in our system. My name is ADBN Olamilekon. In the next 3 minutes, CBN will be on with the communique for 2026 first quarter MPC meeting decision. ADBN will bring you up to speed on that. At this point in time, the market report have to shut down. Till tomorrow with another exciting edition of the show, I say, be a good citizen and stay out of trouble. My name is ADBN Olamilekon. Bye for now.